Another season is upon us. Freshmen arrive wide-eyed with dreams of future glory, while seniors prepare for their last chance at immortality. There are only a handful of these opportunities in a man's life, a handful of chances to distinguish yourself from the rest. It's on these fields where history is made, where legends begin and heroes triumph. Traditions tell the story of what you represent, of those that forge the legacy you uphold. When you come charging out of the tunnel, 100,000 people will be watching your every move. How you respond to that pressure is what defines you. These are the moments that reveal your toughness, your determination, and your pride. The Roughnecks on the Sooner Schooner. Ralphie charging out of the gate. And Chief Osceola planting his spear. The time has come. Your time is now. Another season is upon us.
You know, the rest of the world may call it football, but over in these states, we call it soccer because we already have a football that is incredibly special to us, and we get a chance to talk about it here tonight. We got college football coverage here tonight, and the preface of this of history made here on the channel, the first ever quad box, because I'm joined by Reed Napper, the right-hand man. I'm joined by Colton of O&O Sports. I'm even joined by AT over in Tampa 2 college football. Guys, how are we doing tonight? It is good to see everyone on the show.
I'm scared.
I'm kind of scared.
This dude never ceases to amaze me. Ever. Ever.
Yeah, just when you think you have it all figured out, like always get like a curveball. Are we gonna get another meme, another GIF coming out of this show here tonight? Well,
it'll be in the group chat later.
Yeah, and it might even make its way onto Twitter for like a couple of times too. It just might be that kind of show. And dude, I'm just so excited just to see everybody here on the show here tonight talking some Big Ten football because we got some quarterbacks. You know, one of the most important positions on the field and in all sports is that quarterback position. If you don't have a good quarterback, you're not going to have a good time necessarily. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. Who are those teams in the Big Ten that are going to have a certified great time and who are going to be those teams that are just going to have a maybe not so good time or maybe have to work a lot harder to win games this year. So, hey, boys, are you ready to rank every single Big Ten starting quarterback heading into this upcoming season?
I think Colton was born ready.
Yeah, you guys go for you guys go.
All right. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and jump it on to the big board here tonight. So got everybody's favorite app here, the Adobe Photoshop, and you see this beautiful board that's gonna be posted on Twitter. Now, it's gonna kind of be the same principle as what we did when I was doing the SEC quarterback rankings. I'm not going to like fill out the names out in real time because I don't have time for all that. You know, it wasn't in the budget, but you're going to see the full version on Twitter. But what you are going to see is us talking some ball and talking about some quarterbacks. So, boys, I can't wait to jump into it. You guys ready to talk some Big Ten football and maybe be a little bit spicy here tonight? I know a couple of you have some spicy takes going into this one.
I'm ready to defend my quarterback, Jake. I don't know about Colton, but you know, I'm ready. And AT's quarterback isn't even in this conference, so you know. We're talking about real football here tonight, AT, by the way.
Yeah, I know. You guys didn't show up for that. I didn't either. I wasn't there to defend mine on the SEC talk, but Jake did. I mean, he put him in a perfect spot, just well enough to where he's going to dominate. So yeah, I don't have to defend myself tonight. That's why I didn't show up, camera wise. So
yeah, I know it can be a little intimidating seeing actual like quarterbacks on here, AT, but we'll get through this together, like you and I.
Wow.
But one of the quarterbacks that I was a little bit confused to see still being a starting quarterback in this conference. Go ahead and kick things off here. So my 18th quarterback is going to be Ryan Brown. He's the starting quarterback for the Purdue Boilermakers. And guys, I have to say, probably a really good quarterback, would probably tear us up in EA college football, but compared to the rest of this major college football conference, I'm sorry, he's a certified scrub. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns last year. I don't know how Barry Odom didn't just go out and get himself an actual quarterback. There was options out there for them to grab. Taylor Dickens would have been a really good one, for example. But, Ryan Brown, he's going to be the starter once again, and good luck. He's going to have a better infrastructure. They're going to look like an actual Big Ten team, but I just don't know how high the ceiling is. I just can't be very high on Ryan Brown right now, man.
I mean, I'm in the same boat. He's at 18 for me too, for the same reasons you said. I was really surprised they didn't go get anybody out of the portal. I do like them staying with their guy. That is kind of rare nowadays, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to win football games. So, I mean, if I was Purdue, I would. There was plenty of options. I feel like there's some guys you could even go in and looked at in the G6. There's a lot of guys you probably even could have gone and looked at the FCS level that might even pan out a little bit better than what I expect Ryan Brown to do. But that's who they got next year. So for right now, he's going to be the bottom of the Big Ten for me, quarterback wise.
Yeah, just going straight to the bottom and just leaving one more question, gentlemen. Is that
could you guys disrespect Ryan
Brown? A little bit more belief.
How could you guys disrespect Ryan Brown like that?
Sorry, continue, Reed.
I mean, complete disrespect. At least have him at 17. Like, come on. At least he's actually taking snaps for a Big Ten team. At least have him at 17. But yeah. I mean, exactly for the points you guys said, he's the definition of mid. Just nothing. I mean, holistically about this Purdue team that excites me in 2026. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. Ryan Brown, 17, nothing to get excited about.
I mean, mid would be throwing at least the same amount of interceptions as you did touchdowns. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
Listen, let's not get caught up in the details, okay? Reed is 100% correct here. It takes a lot for me to agree with Reed. He's 100% correct. Ryan Brown is 100% a top 17 quarterback in the Big Ten this year. 100%. And I will go ahead and say it. I also have him at 17.
Okay, so not a consensus at the bottom here. A little bit more love for Ryan Brown than I was expecting, to be honest with you here. But it just makes me wonder, though, at the same time, Reed, you have a little bit more love for Ryan Brown than I do. Who is the worst quarterback in the Big Ten in your mind?
The projected starter of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Jeremy Eklinski. And, not to call Iowa a non-quarterback factory, but they cease to have a quarterback position year in and year out, it seems like. So, Eklinski, Hank Brown, either who ends up being the starter, hasn't gotten any game time for Iowa. So it's really whoever can hand the ball off to Kamari Moulton the best, apparently. So, yeah, either of the Iowa quarterbacks, but Eklinski for the sake of conversation here.
Okay. Colin, what about you, my man? Like, are you also having him as your bottom run quarterback? Are you agreeing with Reed 2 times in a row? This would be history if you did that.
Unfortunately, Jake, I do have to agree with Reed once again. I will say, though, in order just to even out, they did have Mark Gronowski last year, who was an absolute dog. So don't say that they aren't an NFL factory.
What is he doing? What is he doing now?
Probably on a practice squad somewhere. Okay. He was a dog. Okay. But I do agree. Eklinski, no real experience. They have Hank Brown, too, who I think played 2 years ago. I mean, probably, not either way, probably not going to be great. But Gronowski was okay. But I am going to go Eklinski here at 18.
Shout out Mark Gronowski, Miami Dolphins quarterback.
Miami Dolphins. I was just about to say that. Yeah, I was about to say he's a Miami Dolphin now. So, whatever. I guess
Future Pro Bowler, Mike Gronowski.
He can go be the fourth string behind Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. Or he'll just go, get a bunch of concussions like Tua. Who knows? So
we know ball in this show, honestly.
Yes, we do, and that's why I have got Iowa at number 17. I just don't have. I mean, we don't even know who their starting quarterback is really, but it does look like it's going to be Hecklinski probably, and just don't know a ton about him. I mean, he's got everything to prove. So, can't put him any higher than that right now.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like I'm going to differentiate from the rest of the group here. I had him higher than number 17. I actually had him in the top 16 teams. Matter of fact, I actually have him at number 16, to be honest with you. Here's what I'm looking at with Jeremy Hecklinski, and I know that he has very limited playing time and he hasn't had a ton of snaps, but he was a somewhat highly regarded person in high school. And I watched Ryan Brown play football, man, and I just look at what Ryan Brown did on the football field, to be honest with you. And I just feel like Jeremy Hecklinski, he can't be worse, to be honest with you. So I had him a couple of spots higher. I really like his athletic tools as well. I think he could surprise some people, but because of that limited playing time, though, I couldn't be very high. I have him at number 16.
That's interesting. We need to put like a PSA at the beginning of this episode for Ryan Brown and his family not to watch this because good Lord.
Hey, Barry Odom, anything to get out of the gutter, my guy. Anything to add fuel to the fire. I'm happy
watch him go off and just prove all of us wrong.
Watch him go off and go 4-8 next year.
I'm cheering for him. You know what? I'm standing firm. I like Purdue this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a better season for Barry Odom. I really do like him as a coach, and I hope that he does turn it around. But with that being said, I guess your guys are probably wondering who is actually my number 17 guy, because that is my lowest spot of all. And for number 17, I do have, for me, whose projected starter is Alicio Malovic. Malovic out of Michigan State. You guys know what I'm talking about, so that's close enough. We got to see him play in the second half of the season. Had some nice flashes. Just really comes to a matter of got to see it happen more consistently. I'm curious to see how he does under Pat Fitzgerald. Brand new coaching staff did choose to stick around, so I'm a little intrigued. He played solid in those limited moments. Maybe he doesn't have the same athletic tools as Jeremy Hecklinski, but I think he does have the ceiling of being at least a solid quarterback in this league.
Yeah, I'm higher on him. I think one thing to note that I think is pretty, or I guess a big thing to note here is that he did beat out Aiden Childs at Michigan State last year. So, I feel like Aiden Childs is getting a lot of hype, and I think that a lot of people are buying into him. But he lost the starting job to Milo. Vitsky, however you say his name. I will butcher it every time I try to say it. But I mean, I think this guy was a good quarterback. He came in, he threw 10 TDs, three interceptions. I felt like he had a pretty good completion rating. Looks like he can move in the pocket well as well. Like I said, I feel like Aiden Childs is getting a lot more hype than him. I have him at 12 right now. I don't think he's in the top 10, but I am hype on him and think he's going to have a good season next year. And yeah, like I said, I feel like you kind of got to put Aiden Childs lower than him right now since he did go win the starting job head to head last year. So
I'll give Colton another second to ponder.
No, I'm good.
Okay, I don't want you to match with me again. That's why
I have to agree with AT here. Technically, you could put Childs higher technically because Northwestern, it's either him or Markiol. So depending on who you go with, I think I honestly couldn't tell you who's going to be one, but I would have Aiden Childs of Northwestern here at 16.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, not really buying into the Aiden Childs hype, are we?
No. Oh, and then I say that because I agree with AT. I mean, he beat out Childs last year, so I have him one spot above him at 15.
I like it.
Hey, that's a ball knower's thought process right there.
That's sound logic is what that is.
Hey, he's using factual information that is given to him.
Exactly.
I can't argue that.
I
will have Alicio at 16. Agree with all the points that everyone's made so far. He showed flashes last season. Biggest question for me with him, honestly, isn't even about his ability at quarterback. It's who he's throwing the ball to. I mean, wide receiver is a huge question mark for Michigan State for me personally. So I think if the wide receivers pan out for him, I think he could have a average to above average season, at least for Michigan State standards over the last few years. So I'll go Alicio at 16 personally.
Right. All right. So I guess I'm the one that's really low on Alicio then. But AT, I mean, you love him. So I know like Holden mentioned, like he had Aiden Childs at 16. Are you that low on him as well, or you a little bit higher on like Aiden Childs right now?
I'm still a little bit higher. I've got Dylan Lonergan. I'm guessing that's how we say it. Sitting here, which is who I've got starting for. Was Rutgers going in next season? Sorry. And so I'm just, a little bit low here on him. I feel like he was a good quarterback, good transfer in, but just don't really know what to expect next season. Over 2,000 yards passing, 18 TDs, six INTs. He's a good QB, but yet again, just still don't really know a ton about him. So this is where I've got him sitting at 16.
All right, got
him. Yeah, I have Lonergan. If you don't mind me going next, I have Lonergan right above Alicio at 14, so not far off. I do think he's a little bit underrated. I thought he was an okay quarterback at Boston College last year. Sneaky, efficient. Not obviously the best quarterback in the world, but I mean, if we look at Rutgers track history, they brought in Ethan Kaliak-Minnis a few years ago from Minnesota, who you could say similar things about, wasn't, awe-inspiring at Minnesota before coming to Rutgers, and it ended up panning out. Ethan Kaliak-Minnis is in the NFL, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if Dylan Lonergan jumps up, maybe even in the top 10 by the season's end.
Yeah, and I'm right about in the middle between like you two guys, like AT and Colton. I have Lonergan at like 15. He does have some decent like starting experience now that he has a year under his belt at Boston College, like coming in formerly of Alabama. And he was fine. Didn't light the world on fire, but he kept the offense afloat like at Boston College. Definitely not the level where he can win because of him, but you can win with him if he's in the right system. So he starts that kind of tier for me where I feel he can be adequate, but I don't think he's really like I guess too special. I think there's a lot of other quarterbacks that are at a higher level, to be honest with you.
I agree with you there, Jake. I also have Lonergan at 15. I mean, simple enough. Just get the ball to KJ Duff. Simple as that. I mean, how hard can it be to throw the ball to a top 10 receiver in college football next season? So Lonergan, and to Colton's point, was sneaky efficient last year. 67% completion percentage on just over 280 attempts. So sneaky efficient. I think he'll be serviceable for Rutgers next year.
Yeah, he'll be solid for sure. Just like an average starting quarterback. I think in the Power Four. I think that's like a fair take here for Dylan Lonergan. Which, speaking of average starting quarterbacks, I see that AT still got that 15 spot, nice and wide, butt naked open. So starting off your top 15 for you at like AT, like who we rolling with there?
This is where I've got Aiden Childs sitting here at 15. Yet again, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got a high ceiling. Lot of good things to say about him, but he did get beat out last year at Michigan State from Milivojevic. I need to quit saying his name. I'm just going to call the guy AM from now. So he did get beat out by AM over there. So I think he's a good QB, and he's got a lot of hype behind him right now. So I do think it's going to be tough to live up to him. But for now, I think just sitting at 15. But I'm excited to watch him play at Northwestern. I think he does fit there.
Poop. I'm trying to warn you guys. He's not good.
For me personally, I have Aiden Childs at 14. Was inconsistent in his time at Michigan State, but I mean, still has a lot of solid upside. I think he's more known for his playmaking ability, more so his arm talent and his throwing ability. But I will make a note. Northwestern does have Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator now, and secret QB whisperer Neuheisel, the UCLA quarterback coach now at Northwestern. So if he could turn Nico Iamaleava to at least look competent last season after everything that happened, I think he could do something with Aiden Childs. So I will put the Northwestern quarterback at 14.
And you know what, Reed? I'm glad that you bring this up because I am going to sit here tonight and I am going to be an Aiden Childs believer because I actually have Aiden Childs all the way up into my top 10, okay? I still believe in him, okay? This is a guy that came in as a blue chip guy, and I know that he hasn't necessarily lived up to expectations, but I feel like that's more on the head coach and the system that was in place. That previous head coach I was at Michigan State, whose name is I'm currently blanking
Jonathan
Smith. Jonathan Smith. Yes, I think we all agree and understand that is not a power conference caliber head coach. He did not benefit from good coaching, and now that he's going to have his best coaching that he's had since he entered in college, and it's not just David Braun, who's done an underrated job at Northwestern, but also it's Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator, who's going to be a national championship type of a coordinator. He won that ring with the Buckeyes just a couple of years ago. Jerry Nussmeier, who was the interim OC at UCLA, he helped propel UCLA to some really good wins when that team looked lifeless, when Deshaun Foster was part of that staff, like the same Deshaun Foster that found a way to get blown out by New Mexico, okay? So I look at this Aiden Childs, I still think that there's a lot in the tank for him. I love his athletic tools. I just think he hasn't been fully tapped at Michigan State over the last couple of years, and I think we see that this year in Chip Kelly's system. Aiden Childs, top 10 quarterback for me.
Dude, I mean, you're right. He could be untapped, but dude, he's just had too much time at this point. I mean, it very well could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. You talked about Jonathan Smith not being a quarterback developer. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Jonathan Smith got the best year out of DJ Uiagalelei that he ever had in college. Am I wrong?
This is correct.
That's true. That is very true.
This is correct.
I don't think Jonathan Smith is the greatest head coach in the world. I don't think he's that great of a head coach in general. I think at Oregon State, he had a great run. I think he could have a great run somewhere else in the future at a lower level. But this dude, Aiden Childs, lost the job at Michigan State. Sure, he's untapped. He's going to Chip Kelly. That's cool. I think Chip Kelly's probably a little overrated. There's a reason Chip Kelly's at Northwestern right now. Jerry Neuheisel, all the credit in the world to him. He did great at UCLA. Nico was good before Jerry Neuheisel. Nico was probably underrated before Jerry Neuheisel. He was good. He was good at Tennessee. He wasn't elite. He wasn't great. He got put into the system at UCLA and became very good. Now I'll spoil it in my top 10. But I just think that's a bit of a reach on Aiden Childs at 10. But to each their own. To each their own.
He's untapped, bro.
He's untapped.
Yeah, I believe in tools, man. That's Aiden Childs gonna shock some people this year. But we'll see though. We'll definitely see. Number 14 though. I'm gonna go ahead and get things started with number 14. A little bit low, surprisingly for me, lower than I thought I was going to here. I did go with Colton Joseph here at Wisconsin. I like him as as an athlete. I really do. I just don't think that he's the best passer in the world, right? I feel like that he's a little bit surprisingly one-dimensional here, and I feel like there's a potential here for Colton Joseph to actually flop for Wisconsin. So I know that's going to be a really controversial take. I know I'm probably going to get flamed about it, but I have Colton Joseph as 14. But it more speaks to also there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this league. So if Colton Joseph ends the year closer to the top 5 and in the bottom 5, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised either.
Now I want to go last. I want to go last on this one.
Okay. If we're talking names, if we're talking just purely names, this is a top 1 quarterback in the Big Ten. But I would honestly have to agree I'm a little bit closer to Jake. I think he's a little bit overrated coming into the system. I think Wisconsin's been a team that's, not been awful at developing and producing on the offensive side. They really stepped it up in the final 6 games last year. In general, they were better than they have been so far under Fickle. It does worry me. He doesn't read defenses super well. His arm isn't, amazing. I think he could be an electric pro spread option type of quarterback, but I'm going to have him in a similar place. I actually have him at 12 on my list.
Yeah, this one's kind of
AT. Just make sure Reed goes last.
Okay. That cracked me up. You saying okay like that. Cool. That was hilarious. Anyways, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think he's super high ceiling and can do it both. Can throw, can run. Obviously, super athletic guy. I know Reed's really hype on him. But it is tough for me because I feel like my 13 and 14 are kind of interchangeable, but I have him sitting at 13 right now. I am low on him. But yet again, 13, 14, 12 for me are all kind of in the same boat. I think he could. I actually would probably pick him over AM there. But at the end of the day, if I was picking a quarterback, I'd probably take him over AM. But I feel like for what they're going to do, you're probably going to see more production out of AM before the end of the year. So, but time will tell.
14, 13, 12. Okay.
So you're going
All
11, right?
He's going 5.
He's going, top 5.
No. Hold on. I will not let Colton speak for me. I am higher on Colton Joseph than the collective here, but not as high as 5. I have Colton Joseph personally at 9.
Okay.
And solely if Wisconsin fails this year, it is not going to be because of Colton Joseph, because Colton Joseph is the best quarterback that Fickle has had in his tenure there. He is one of the few quarterbacks in the country to throw for over 2,000 yards while also rushing for over 1,000 yards last year, let alone, and I've brought this up on the show before, that he is the only quarterback. I think he was the only quarterback to rush for a touchdown all year against Indiana. I believe that's the stat. It was on the first play of the season. Will it translate to the Big Ten and its physicality level? I think it can on some level. Again, to Colton's point, he could very well translate perfectly to a pro spread RPO style offense. But again, if Wisconsin fails this year, it is not going to be because of Colton Joseph. I think he translates somewhat well to a Big Ten level play, and I personally have him at 9. I think he's a good athlete. I think he's a really good athlete, and I think he'll translate well to the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. I obviously think he's a really good athlete. I mean, one does not simply run a 75-yard touchdown on the Indiana Hoosiers, as Indiana was on their way to the national championship. But I'm kind of like on the same path of thinking as Colton is. Like, I'm just concerned about his ability to read defenses, and you could get away with that in the Sun Belt. But this is not the Sun Belt anymore. We are in football weather here, champ. That kind of, if he doesn't take a step in terms of being able to read a defense, like the mental aspect of the game, he's going to get exposed here, especially when he gets to the conference play, because they're going to play some really good teams in the Big Ten this season.
Agree.
But shoot, like moving on, AT, like I still know it's like you said you had 12 through 14 interchangeable. I'm ready to go ahead and like shoot that gap with you here. So I'm curious to see what your 14th guy ended up being.
And this one's tough too. I think this guy's a good quarterback. Doesn't do it with his feet at all. But I'm looking at Drake Lindsey right now. He obviously had a good season, 2,300 yards passing, over 2,300, almost got to 24, 18 TDs, 6 INTs. One thing that I'll note that's kind of crazy to me is we're going to get ready to talk about Bryce Underwood. He only had 2 less rushing touchdowns than Bryce Underwood did. So just keep that in mind for, just moving forward here. I think that Drake Lindsey's better than we give him credit for, but I still don't see him much higher than this 12 to 14 range for me. So.
I'll go. I have Drake Lindsey all the way up. Not 1, not 2, but 11.
Whoa.
I like Drake Lindsey. I think he's an underrated quarterback in this conference. I really like his deep ball. He didn't get to show it off a ton at Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota is a lot more pro style. Oh,
He's cooked, folks.
okay. Minnesota runs a pro style, and they do rely on his arm. He's not a super great athlete, which is probably keeping him from becoming, in that top 10. But I think he's on the cusp. Honestly, I think, given the right tools this year, which he's at Minnesota, so that's not a given. Obviously, he could end up inside that top 10. I think he's probably pretty underrated in this conference.
I agree. He's underrated. He definitely could crack the top 10 list by season's end. I personally have him at 13. I think he has good playmaking ability, has a lot of upside, and I mean, the highest upside of the quarterback I can remember in Flex tenure so far. Wide receiver leaves a little bit of question to me of who he's throwing the ball to, but again, he has a really high ceiling, and I think Drake Lindsey, similar to Colton's points, it doesn't get enough credit. I think he has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback by season's end if we revisit this list. And also, Colton, shout out to your burner in the YouTube comments saying that Calandra is already the number 1 quarterback in the Big Ten. Appreciate that.
It's not me.
Allegedly, but yeah, I'm right in the middle with you guys. I have Drake Lindsey as my number 12 quarterback in this Big Ten. I do think that he's an underrated quarterback and he's part of an underrated program, but the ranking also kind of reflects Minnesota as a whole, where I feel like there's a certain ceiling that they hit. We think that year in year out, one of always the safer bets to make it to a bowl game. But do we really expect them to take that next leap into, like a lead and be a college football playoff contender? That's not what we're expecting under PJ Fleck's MO, right? And, PJ Fleck has done a good job of stabilizing the program, but I feel like there is a ceiling that is somewhat reached here. So, I mean, I think Drake Lindsey is going to be a solid quarterback. I think Minnesota themselves is going to have a solid season. But 12 feels right, just talking holistically.
Yes.
But shoot, I'm gonna go ahead and fill things out with my number 13 quarterback in the Big Ten, and it is the transfer out of East Carolina. Come on down, new Illinois guy, Caden Hauser, the starting quarterback for the Illinois Fighting Illini. I like Caden Hauser. I do like his physical traits, and he put up some nice stats at East Carolina. Definitely has experience as a starter, which is what I really like. But I couldn't have him above, like a Drake Lindsey or we talked about Eden Childs at the same time, because I haven't seen him do it at the power conference level, or at least not consistently. And unlike a Anthony Calandria, was not a conference player of a year type of player as well, which would obviously help me elevate him into the top 10. But I think Caden Hauser could be a nice, I don't think he's going to be the same as a Luke Altmaier. But I don't think there's going to be this dramatic drop-off from Luke Altmaier to Caden Hauser. I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell by my spastic movements here, I agree 100%, Jake. He is Luke Altmaier light. At Eastern Carolina, he benefited from a great offensive system. I think it really worked for him. But I don't want to penalize him for his stop prior to Eastern Carolina, because he was very good at Eastern Carolina. But he lacks the athleticism, I would say the top end athleticism of a Colton Joseph. So I also have him at 13, just below Colton Joseph. And I don't think he quite has the arm talent to crack the top 10. I definitely don't think he has the arm talent of a Drake Lindsey above him. I would say he's probably on par or probably a little bit better than Colton Joseph. Just like I said, I think the athletic ability of Colton Joseph is what personally puts me above him. I know they have similar situations, Eastern Carolina, Old Dominion. Two great systems, taking a step up. But that's why I think I have them at a similar level, because I'm not quite sold on either of them as a whole. I wouldn't put either of them in the top 10 just because, like Jake said, we've seen them at the group of 6. We've yet to see them in a competent Big Ten offensive system. And I think there will be growing pains for both these quarterbacks. For Caden Hauser, I think a little bit more, seeing as Illinois' offense isn't the greatest. I don't want to say it's bad, but with Luke Altmaier, they're pretty efficient. I struggle to see Illinois being as good with Hauser as it was with Altmaier the past few seasons.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying, but I am a little bit higher, obviously, on him. I've got him sitting in my top 10, right at it. And I do think he's very similar to Luke Altmaier, and I think that Luke fit that system well, and I think Hauser's going to fit the system just like he did, and I think he's honestly maybe even has a little bit higher ceiling, which I think is kind of hard to say because of how good Luke was. But I mean, this is a guy that was in the top 20 in passing yards at the end of the season last year. I mean, he threw the ball a lot and threw it well, and 19 touchdowns. I mean, there's not really enough good things we can say about him. Obviously, the competition wasn't as good, but I fully expect him to step in and run in this offense. Do I expect Illinois to be as good as they were last year? No, I don't think they have the weapons around him, but I do feel like he's going to be a good quarterback in the Big Ten. So,
because of all the points you guys have said tonight, and literally on my notes, the third point could meet / possibly exceed Altmaier level. Caden Hauser's at number 8 for me personally.
Okay.
3,000 yard pass, 3,000 yard passer. I don't care if it's at the G6 level. 3,000 yards is 3,000 yards, no matter what level of football you do that at. 19 touchdowns in the American Conference, which last time I checked is not a pushover of a conference at the G6 level. Does it translate to the Big Ten level? That's the biggest question mark for me. I think on some level it does, and I think Illinois can be a competitive team with Hauser leading this offense. I personally have him at number 8.
See, I understand what you guys are saying, and I'm trying so hard not to penalize him for playing in the Big Ten prior to going to Eastern Carolina, but we saw it. I know it's been 2 years ago at this point. He could have taken a massive step forward. It certainly looks like it statistically. I don't want to say the American's a bad conference, but it's not the Big Ten. With 250 pass attempts in 2024 at Michigan State, we saw 18 touchdowns and a 61% completion percentage. Now, he took a step up by taking a step down, but I just the Luke Altmaier system with Illinois worked so well because of Luke Altmaier's accuracy. I have a hard time seeing the Hauser accuracy translate when going back to the Big Ten, back to Illinois, or not back to Illinois, but to Illinois.
Yeah, and to be fair, I do think that he also benefited. East Carolina had one of the best offensive lines in the American last year. So that definitely worked in their favor as well. Not that he can't be good, I think, like I mentioned, definitely has a top 5 kind of ceiling. I think Caden Hauser can absolutely light things up. If the stars align.
I have to break some news here. According to Pete Thamel, Texas Tech transfer quarterback Brendan Sorsby plans to enter the NFL supplemental draft.
Good.
Okay.
So that's a quarterback that we weren't going to talk about today. But now we won't be talking about him.
Breaking news per Pete Nakos, Brendan Sorsby and Texas Tech are mutually parting ways.
You know what? I think that's the right call too. I mean, I don't think Brandon Sorsby was really worth the trouble.
Send him up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm doing the same thing, by the way. Just can't say
you're the culprit. You're the culprit, bro. You're behind this betting scheme.
All right. So you're Reed. I know you're definitely higher on Luke Altmaier though than the rest of the group. But who's a quarterback that you're looking at that maybe you're not as high on as the rest of us, as we see that number 12 spot, sitting wide open for you still?
Yeah, and AT prefaced this earlier. I got to see it to believe it. It's Bryce Underwood.
Yeah.
I don't know why Colin's shaking his head. You let a glorified running back beat Nebraska, walk into Lincoln last year and run all over you guys. I don't know why you're shaking your head. Oh, Andrew Marsh at receiver. Yeah, they upgraded at receiver this year. Is he going to actually throw the ball to them? Time will tell. They upgraded at offensive coordinator, his third one in 3 years, mind you. So we'll see. But this is a prove it spot for me right here at 12. Again, upgrade receiver. Running backs are elite. Great offensive line. He's an elite playmaker. I'm not denying that. He is an elite playmaker. His athleticism is undeniable. He has not reached the caliber of the 5-star prospect that he was coming out of high school. He has not translated to the college game yet, let alone the Big Ten. And I got to see it. I still believe in him. That's why I'm putting him at 12. He is comfortably right on the edge of a top 10 spot. And I think he could easily reach that by season's end, if not, potential top 5 level. So again, I just got to see it to believe it. I'm not denying that he can't, but time will obviously tell. I got to see it with my own eyes.
Reed, I got exactly 2 words for you.
Yep.
Devin Dampier. Michigan gets Jason Beck, the Utah former offensive coordinator who developed Devin Dampier into one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the same skill set, like you said, elite playmaker. By that phrase alone, elite playmaker, he has to be in the top 10. The arm is a question. The arm is a question. Sure, I 100% agree. The arm is a question. Receivers, did they help him out at all last year? No. Would it have been meaningfully better than it was last year if the receivers could help? Probably not. But he's a true freshman. We've seen it. We've seen it with Dylan Raiola at Nebraska last year. Had a miserable, inefficient year 1 as a true freshman quarterback asked to carry the load. And he had less around him. In year 2, takes a step up, obviously gets injured before that. Looks, probably like a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the Big Ten. Michigan has the tools. They have the offensive line. They now have the weapons around him. And they have the coaching. That's the most important thing, is they have the coaching. Bryce Underwood will be okay. I have him at 7. Which is still pretty low in my opinion. Still pretty low.
Yeah.
For a Michigan quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, Colton? Like, I absolutely agree with you. I actually am on the same wavelength as you, to be honest. I also had him at number 7 as well. It is not just you, my man. Because I will say this. Yes, he did not meet expectations in his true freshman year, coming in as number 1 overall quarterback in that 2025 high school recruiting class. I get it. I understand it. He also had arguably a bottom 5 head coach in this conference in Jerome Moore, who probably actively held this program back. Now he has an actual adult in the room in Kyle Whittingham. And I know that he's not going to be one calling the offensive plays. The actual offensive coordinator who helped develop Devin Dampier into a top-tier quarterback in this conference. Very like Bryce Underwood is a bigger Devin Dampier. If you really sit down and think about it. So it's a little bit of a prove-it spot, like just because I did see him actually play and it wasn't great. But man, he has all the physical tools to be elite. And I'm saying this as an Ohio guy. I am born in the Buckeye State, and I'm talking positively about a Michigan football player. Okay, so like he's got all the tools, but I mean, he just has to put it all together, and hopefully this new coaching staff will help him get there.
Top 5 coaching staff in the country, by the way.
I completely agree with everything you guys said about Michigan as a whole, but I'm with Reed on this. I've got him sitting at number 11, and honestly, that's me being generous because I don't see how you put this guy in the top 10. We talk about him being a true freshman as something that's like, hey, we know he's going to get better next year. But Malik Washington's the same thing and had double the performance. I mean, hell, Kamario Taylor at Mississippi State played half the games and had more touchdowns than him, and nobody talks about him. You've also got AM over there at Michigan State, played less games, scored, and almost had the same amount of passing touchdowns as Bryce Underwood did. If we're talking about him, then the only thing that's good about him right now is the hype, because we haven't seen it on the field. The reason he's sitting at number 11 for me is solely because of his name and solely because of what we saw him do out of high school, because I have not seen it one time on the field, and I watched a lot of Michigan football last year. So to me, I'm just not sold on him. I think you've got to do a lot of talking about things that haven't happened yet to talk about how good he is. So for me, Bryce Underwood's outside the top 10 until proven otherwise. And honestly, I think I'm being generous putting him at 11. So.
Man, so how about that? I think we might have the most polarizing quarterback on the college football red zone media apparatus, Bryce Underwood. Didn't think it was going to be, I thought it was going to be somebody else, but Bryce Underwood looks to be that guy early. We'll see who ends up being right. Colin, I'll be popping that champagne with you at the end of the season when us ball knowers happen to get this one right, I feel, or at least I hope for his sake, because he might transfer out if it doesn't finish the year well. I could see that happening.
Well, Colton is also muting and turning his camera off every 5 seconds because he's probably raging. exactly like that.
All right. Well, while Colton is actively like raging right now, like in his cam, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce my number 11 quarterback in this list. I'm going with Nico Amlave from UCLA. Former 5-star kid. We've seen him start for 3 years now, and for me, like, it's clear that he's the type of quarterback that you can win with. We've seen like Tennessee make the college football playoff a couple of years ago with him as their starting quarterback as a freshman, but seeing him at UCLA, to be honest with you, like it's just a pure case of like you can win with him, but you can't. He doesn't elevate the guys around him. Is really what it comes down to for me. And we have a large enough like sample size to show that. Like the New Mexico game is a perfect example of that. Like the way that he played in the New Mexico game, it wasn't his fault that they lost, but I don't know if he has that ability to take put the team on his back and win some games. I just don't know if he has it on a consistent level. So I'm a little bit lower on the former 5-star quarterback for that reason. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a bust by any means. But he's not going to fully live up to that 5-star expectation, in my opinion.
Are we still talking about?
We're on Nico.
Oh yeah, you did say that. You can go ahead.
I also have Nico at 11, Jake. So yay, we match again.
Yay.
Again, Nico showed some flashes last season in what was a dumpster fire of a season holistically for UCLA. Took a step back from what he did at Tennessee, but showed a lot more of his athleticism than what he did at Tennessee. So I think that's going to play dividends this season. And I think just holistically, having Chesney, the holistic staff upgrades that they're having at UCLA now, I think is going to elevate his play tenfold from what it was last season. And I think he can easily crack the top 10 by season's end. And I think Nico still has that upside. Personally, so I view him similar to Underwood. He has all that raw potential. Just got to see it break through. So I also have Nico at 11.
I'm gonna go ahead put him at 9. I think I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I feel like it's here or there where you have him at this point. I feel like we're all probably gonna be similar. I don't want to speak too soon for AT. Might have him top 3. Might be a secret Los Angeles homer. Who knows? But. For all the reasons you guys said, he's been in a good system. I don't think he was bad beforehand. I think he gets a bad rep because of the situation. He wasn't great. I'm not going to sit here and say that he was in the lineage of those Tennessee quarterbacks before him. I don't think he was particularly close, but I don't think he was bad. I still don't think he is bad now. I think he's in a good system. I think he was in an okay system last year and now is in a very good system to fit his skill set. We saw it with Alonzo Barnett. Not many people had him on their radar last year, and he did very, very well in that system. I think it's a system made for those mobile, athletic quarterbacks that if Nico gains a little bit of weight, I think we could honestly see a replication in numbers from that Alonzo Barnett season. But still, from a talent perspective, is he top 5? Probably not. Is he going to have top 5 weapons? No. I'm still higher on him, I guess, than you guys, but I still think he can be good. Just probably not towards the top of the conference, not top 3, top 5.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with you, Colton. I've got him sitting at number 9 too. I think he's a fantastic athlete, and he can hit the deep ball. He can make good throws. We've seen him do it all the time. We see him roll out and make some crazy plays, but he's just not consistent enough. And I think he's got all the potential. But as Jake was saying about some other guys earlier, it's just untapped right now. So I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got, I think he's got a better staff around him now, and I expect him to do better this season. But yeah, still not in the top 5 for me. So
yeah, well, listen though, like speaking of that top 10 though, like we're officially in it holistically now. We got some shoes to fill though. Like Reed, I know you got that number 10 spot that you're trying to fill up on your big board. So you already have a couple in here, and the Luke Altmaier poor man's replacement, as well as like Colton Joseph. But who's going to be that number 10 to round out your top 10 thus far?
Yeah, so this 10 to 7 range for me personally is like the good category. So rounding out that good category for me was Malik Washington at Maryland. I think if he was in a better situation holistically, he could potentially be in like top 5 conversation. I really think that highly of him. Elite quarterback build. I think he's holistically underrated nationally, like speaking. If he had better playmakers on the outside, which left to be seen, got some transfer receivers this year that I think if they take a step up for him, and if they somehow are still a competent team after the first 4 or 5 games of the season, what they tend to be under Mike Locksley, I could see Maryland be a very sneaky team in the Big Ten solely because of Malik Washington's ability. And they upgraded at offensive coordinator. Clint Trickett comes in from Jack State. The run game's going to upgrade. So therefore, I think Malik Washington is going to upgrade. So I mean, depending how Maryland's season shakes out, I could see him potentially move on from Maryland after the season, but we're not going to speculate that now. Malik Washington, very, very underrated quarterback in my opinion, though. So he comes in at number 10.
Feel free to not speculate, Reed. I'll go ahead and say it. If Malik Washington is on this roster next season, just shoot me. This is a waste of talent. This is an absolute waste of talent. And Mike Locksley doesn't even have a terrible track record with quarterbacks. Oh, I'm throwing up in my mouth just talking about him. This guy, I don't know why he's still the Maryland head coach. I guess they have some faith in him. He's an okay recruiter. He's being wasted. I don't think he's a better quarterback than Bryce Underwood. I know we've talked about that. I guess some of you have him above Bryce Underwood. I do not. I still think he's very talented. I think he's probably a better arm talent at this point. Still inefficient as a passer, still inefficient throwing the ball, not super accurate as the numbers reflect. He also had over 100 more attempts than Bryce Underwood passing the ball, so when we compare numbers, it's a little, that's neither here nor there. I think he's very, very good. I think he could, ascend into that, upper echelon, maybe borderline All-American level quarterback by the end of his career. I do not think it is at Maryland. I think if he wasn't, attached at the hip with Mike Locksley, he would be on an Alabama, on some, big name team. He is all the talent in the world. I think once again, it's being wasted at Maryland.
So where do you have him?
That's not important. Okay. I also Reed, I'll have you know, I have him at 10 also.
Hey, look at us.
I mean, I feel like Colton just, pretty much summed it up for me. I think he's a good quarterback. I've got him sitting at number 8. Sorry. I've got him sitting right at number 8. He's a really good quarterback for me. I think he's better than Bryce Underwood, or at least he looked better last year. But I agree with everything you said about just being stuck there under Locksley. I don't have a lot of hype for them as a team. But got to give Locksley credit. I mean, he can get some good defensive linemen in. He can keep quarterbacks around. He can get the recruits. It's just he can't, make it happen on the field. But I have a lot of faith in Malik here, and I think he's a really good quarterback, one of the best in the Big Ten. But just outside the top 5 for me. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to be right in the middle of you guys. I mean, not a lot to say here, but you guys haven't already mentioned. I had Malik Washington as my number 9 quarterback. I will say this about him. I really am impressed by this young man's maturity and his poise as a true freshman. He was behind a questionable offensive line, some questionable playmakers on the outside as well. And he played pretty well in spite of those circumstances. So I'm really impressed from him as a mature guy. Really much more mature than what his age suggests. Only 19 years old, definitely does not play like a 19-year-old. So I have him at number 9, not because of his lack of ability by any means. It's just that I'm that high on my top 8 quarterbacks. That's going to be revealed here shortly. It's more how much more impressed I am by them. And yes, it is the future Nebraska quarterback, Colton. Yeah, yes, I am talking about him too. Maybe could be number 1 as your burner suggests. Who knows? But yeah, I think Malik Washington could be an All-American caliber quarterback. I agree with it. Does it happen this year, and can he save Mike Locksley's job? That remains to be proven.
No, he's gone.
I do think because of him though, I do think Maryland makes a bowl game. I can see that happening.
Hell no. That's not happening. This is a 4-win
God.
football team.
Oh my
Yeah, but they
God.
only need 2 more wins. That's not even that much more.
Yeah, we're gonna have
It
to
is,
do
it
a
is.
Maryland PSA for this one too. Now
Oh, brother. add fuel to the fire, brother.
we're gonna have to
Well,
warn people before they watch this episode. Like,
Put Colton on the hype tapes.
Well, listen, in the eyes of Colton, I'm going to put a little bit more fuel to the fire here because number 8 actually is my is the the quarterback out of Nebraska in Anthony Colandrea. It's kind of a similar concept for Caden Hauser, except I do think Anthony Colandrea is more accomplished at this point. You know, Mountain West Player of the Year. You know, he puts up the same really good stats as Caden Hauser, except a little bit of a higher level. Colandrea being one of the better quarterbacks in the G6 versus Hauser being one of the better quarterbacks in the American. It goes down to being able to prove it at the Big Ten level at the end of the day, which is why I couldn't have him necessarily in this top 5. And the top 6 quarterbacks, they're just straight dogs, you know. So I really like Colandrea. I think that was a really good grab for losing Dylan Raiola in the transfer portal. So I have it at number 8. But I think they have a special quarterback on their hands.
Should I go?
Yes.
Do we know what I'm gonna say?
Number 1.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I actually, Jake, I have Iamalieva at 8, but I'm gonna call an audible. I think this is fate. I think I'm gonna have Colandrea one spot of Iamalieva at 8, and this is. I will say outside of a production standpoint, he's more polished as a passer than I would say Hauser is. He's more polished, or he's a better athlete than I think some of the guys below him are. I think he goes underrated as a player because of the first couple years at Virginia. I think you could see him jump from the UNLV system with Dan Mullen into the Nebraska system now, and potentially be a Diego Pavia-esque type of player. Now, will he reach the heights of Diego Pavia? No, I'll just go ahead and say it. No, he will not see New York this year. I don't think he's that kind of player, but he is a borderline elite athlete. He's an underrated arm talent. I think Nebraska has some sneaky weapons around him. They rebuilt the offensive line, got Jeep Wade from Georgia Tech to supplement his game, and he's a great runner as well. So you're going to see the Nebraska of the last 4 games of the regular season last year, now with a quarterback that fits in an offensive line and running game that fits more towards what they were trying to do than what they had last year. And I think with that, he's top 10.
Colin, did we just agree?
Are we best friends?
We might very well be. I did not think that we would agree. I thought I was ready for a crash out. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I got the scarlet and cream on, but I'm not a delusional human being. So
Yeah,
reasonable takes.
like some other people here.
I'd be pointing down right now, but you can't.
Wow.
I can go ahead here too because I'm in the same boat. I got him at 7. Think he's a great quarterback. Another over 3,000 yard passer last year, as we were talking about earlier. Reed, that's such a big deal. Several touchdowns. 23, only 9 interceptions, over 60%. Completion rate. Stat wise, not enough good things you can say about what he did last year. The only thing I'm concerned about is Dan Mullen is known as the QB whisperer in college football. So, was it just the fact that he was under him and was it more Dan doing a lot of work and kind of setting him up to make a lot of good plays? Or is Colandrea really that good? I think, time will tell. I think he is a good quarterback. I think he developed really well last year and got a lot better. I expect him to do good this year. That's why I got him in the top 7, but there are some unknowns and you just kind of hope he doesn't regress not having Dan Mullen at the helm coaching him anymore. So.
That's a great point. You bring up AT. One of the biggest questions I have about Colandrea, by the way, I have him also at 7, is how he's going to translate into Dana Holgerson's system. And it's good that Colton's here. He might be able to answer that question because while I believe Colandrea is an elite playmaker and one of the notes I put, one of the best at making something out of nothing, how is that going to fit into a Dana Holgerson system, translating from a Raiola who was, personally, a more pocket presence quarterback versus Colandrea, who can make more off of his feet, his playmaking ability outside the pocket. Colton, I mean, if you can answer that question because you know more about Holgerson than me. So I personally have Calandre at 7, but definitely a lot of upside. Can't deny what he did last year at UNLV. So,
Reed, I'd be happy to answer that for you.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Dylan Raiola came to Nebraska with Marcus Satterfield as his offensive coordinator. Nebraska's goal with Dylan Raiola was to generate an offense around him, generate an offense best suit for Dylan Raiola's needs and Dylan Raiola's style of play. That's why you saw when it went from Marcus Satterfield to Dana Holgerson, there wasn't a meaningful change. Everybody was kind of hoping Dana Holgerson would open it up and it'd be, a different system, and it wasn't. That's because Dylan Raiola was still the quarterback. You saw when Dylan Raiola went out last year, that's what the Dana Holgerson offense is supposed to look like. And I know people will say, well, that offense looked terrible. It's because the roster, and it wasn't a great offense. The roster was built for Dylan Raiola. That's what Nebraska was trying to build towards. You've seen it with what the direction they've been going in this offseason with Jeep Wade, with the offensive line, with bringing in Anthony Calandria, before that having Kenny Minchie committed, is that they want to run that pro spread option. They want to, kind of mirror what Georgia Tech was doing, kind of mirror what Vanderbilt, Indiana have been doing with the RPO style. You saw it in those last 4 games with TJ Lateef. Now they have a not true freshman quarterback, a very, very seasoned, very experienced quarterback now with Calandria, which is why I think all of us are going to be right here and may even be a little bit low on him, in my opinion.
This is kind of off subject, but you talking about Dylan Raiola got me thinking over here. With the news of Sorsby no longer being at Texas Tech, you guys think he's kicking himself because he can no longer be the real Patty Mahomes clone? Because, if he would have known that Sorsby wasn't going to be the guy, he was going to Tech. We all know it.
I think he is doing that.
We all know he was going to Tech. But
Bro, he was just getting that fade right at the level of Mahomes as we speak, and you just had to do that.
Crazy.
Man.
No, that's crazy.
I mean, he's not wrong though. Probably
Not wrong,
a piece
but-
of him is.
No, what could have been truly, but hey, I'm gonna go ahead. Looks like we're gonna have a consensus top 6 here, which I'm a little surprised about. I thought we'd see a little bit of variety, like in the top 5, top 6, but looks like that's not gonna be the case. So I'm a little surprised about that. But I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off with my number 6 quarterback, and I'm curious to hear what you guys feel about this guy. Is Devin Williams the starting quarterback for the Washington Huskies? I really like his dual threat ability. I think that he is a really good quarterback in this conference. 2 reasons why I don't have him in the top 5 though, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well. Is in the big games, I felt like he shrunk a little bit too much. The Ohio State game in particular was something that I think about quite often, where he looked like my man's needed the map. Like he looked a little lost, to be honest with you. And I'm also a little bit concerned about the intangibles as well. I think the elephant in the room when it comes to Devin Williams is we're talking about a guy that said that he was going to come back, and then he decided to enter in the transfer portal. Washington had to basically threaten to sue this guy to be back on the team as well. So from a leadership and intangible aspect, as well as that, I guess, really lack of big game ability, that's why I honestly couldn't have him in the top 5, in my opinion. I still think he's really good, but can you win back that locker room? I think it's going to be the $1 million question.
That is an important question, Jake. And I did, have him one spot higher at 5. I think, if we're talking about Bryce Underwood, the reason I'm high on Bryce Underwood is because guys like this can be very good quarterbacks in the Big Ten when they find the right coordinator, when they find the right system. Damon Williams isn't the elite of the elite in terms of passing, in terms of arm talent, in terms of accuracy. He's not bad. Obviously, he's very good. That's why we have him around the top 5. But like Jake is talking about, it is hard to have him in that, top hemisphere of quarterbacks. 1, because I don't think the arm talent matches that top hemisphere. And 2, does he want to play football for this team? I would assume so. He's reaffirmed his commitment only after, like Jake mentioned, Washington threatened to get litigious, which is always what you want to do with your starting quarterback for next season. So it is, a question mark. I would say safely in the top 10, not safely in my top 5. I have him at 5, just based on, raw production stats, his baseline talent level. I think he's a good quarterback, but Jake brings up a ton of good points about the leadership.
Suing your starting quarterback's always a good move, right? I mean, good Lord.
You always want your quarterback to be legally obligated to play for you. That's how it should be.
Or they're just going to mutually leave you,
Right.
The big two right there.
Or they'll just what is it now? You can unenroll. You can unenroll from school, and then you're no longer obligated to the contract. That's the new loophole. So insanity in the game. But to talk about him as a quarterback, yeah, I've got him at number 5 too. I think he's a great quarterback. A lot of the same concerns you guys have. Obviously, does he even want to be there? Really for me, I think he's got all the potential to be a top 4 guy in this. And you talk about the Ohio State game, but I think the game that was a real kicker last year was Wisconsin. I mean, that was just to lose that game is crazy. And it wasn't just all his fault. I mean, it was, but they only put up 10 points that game. And as a quarterback, if you're really an elite quarterback, you should be able to go take over a game like Wisconsin and win that for your team. So I think he's a really, really good guy, really good quarterback. I think he'll have a good season next year. Expect a lot out of him, but just not in the top 4 for me right now. So
to all of the chagrin of AT and Colton, I also have Damon Williams at number 5.
Wow.
To all the points that you boys have made, elite playmaker, 3,000 passing yards, 25 touchdowns. I mean, a little bit of questions at receiver, mainly because his number 1 receiver is leaving, Denzel Boston. Christian Moss, I think, is a great addition on the outside. But aside from that, he is an elite playmaker. And I think being in the system with Jed Fish at the helm, if he wanted to be there or not, he is still there. He's still going to, perform to the level that he was at last season at a minimum. So I think he's solely one of the reasons that Washington has been in a lot of, Big Ten playoff dark horse discussions, solely because of his ability at quarterback. So I have him just on the edge of the top 5 at number 5.
Look at Jake, non-ball knower.
I know. I need to delete my account. Apparently, wouldn't be the first time I've been told that. So it's all good. It's all right. So
I'm just joking.
Bozo.
I'm really curious now. Like, and I'm going to start with you, Colin. Like in particular, though, because you had him in. I'm curious with who your number 6 is. Because apparently I'm standing down on an island. So I'm very curious to hear where you guys are sitting as your number 6. And I'm Colin. I'm going to start with you, man.
Rocco Becht. He's my number 6 quarterback. I like the guy. I think he's closer to what Calandria is right now, but at a more experienced at a higher level at Iowa State last year and the year prior and the year prior and the year prior. I think he's, not going to take over the world with his arm, but I don't think he needs to. I think, with the style that Penn State's probably going to look at, Matt Campbell's there. You're going to be a team that runs the ball with the quarterback, makes some sneaky athletic plays at quarterback with his legs and his arm. I don't think he needs to be a 68% passer at Penn State to be in this, range of maybe top 5. I think the raw production will be there for him. I think he's probably going to end up 10 to 15 rushing touchdowns, and to me, that's all you really need. I don't think you need to be an elite passer by any stretch. I've knocked a couple quarterbacks down my ranking for being, not elite one way or the other, but I think the level that Rocco Becht performs at as a playmaker, as an athlete, I'm willing to put him in this upper tier. I know I have Bryce Underwood 1 rank below him. I'd say they're pretty similar. Just, Bryce Underwood obviously isn't as experienced as Rocco Becht, isn't as, I guess, I don't want to say isn't as talented, because they're both very talented. But yeah, similar styles, similar play styles. Just one true freshman, the other 800th year senior.
Yeah.
I've got to agree with you though, Colton. This is where I've got him too. I've got him sitting at number 6. Great quarterback, one of the best names in the Big Ten, if not the best name, and one of the best names in all of college football, I should say. Guy is tough as nails. Love watching him play. Really tuned in to watch them last year. just to hear the name Rocco Beck yelled out. I have a lot of hype for him. I think he's going to do great at Penn State. I think he's going to roll right in, and I think they're upgrading. Well, I shouldn't say upgrading because I know that there was a lot of hype around Aller last year, but I think they've got a really good guy at helm. So I think this will be a better season for Penn State. Obviously, a lot more expectations there, and I think Rocco Beck fits the program well. So pretty much the same thing as Colton there. I think he's good, not in the top 4, not top 5, but one of the best in the Big Ten for sure. So
one of the quarterbacks in the country with the most continuity holistically around him coming into 2026 is Rocco Beck. Number 6 for me, Jake. Campbell, head coach, Mauser, offensive coordinator, a handful of receivers from Iowa State, offensive lineman, running back, mate in the backfield. Sorry, what was that?
Brahmer.
Benjamin Brahmer.
The other tight end, I forget his name.
Elite tight end, Rapplier?
I think, yeah.
Elite tight end room. Thank you, ball knower. Thank you, ball knower, for.
I mean, for a quarterback of his skill set, you can't do that to me. Because a quarterback of his skill set, the tight ends are going to have like 400 yards apiece.
You're right. They're going to run
huge parts of that offense.
Yeah, they're going to run 13 personnel, 9 of 10 plays on the drive. You're right.
I need to mute.
We're going to mash those tight ends to death.
I will preface though, to finish off my point. He did deal with injury problems last year. That will be a major question mark if he is to go down with another injury this season, the backup situation. But I am expecting him to be fully healthy behind a continuity-driven offensive line, tight ends, as Colton said. I expect Rocco, again, he won't be the flashiest, as we've all said. He won't put up the most stats, but he will be consistent. And, he will lead this Penn State offense to be an above-average offense in 2026. So Rocco Beck comfortably number 6, again, as all the ball knowers here have acknowledged. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, and you know what? I obviously cannot put him at number 6 like the rest of you guys, but I did go one spot higher. I do have him in my top 5, and it really comes down to this for me when it comes down to Rocco Beck. From a pure talent perspective, I view him and Devin Williams in a very similar light. But for me, it comes down to those intangibles, and I ask myself, like as an evaluator and as a head coach, who would I rather have on my football team right now? I would rather have Rocco Beck on my football team. I think he's a tougher guy than Devin Williams. I think that he has better leadership than Devin Williams. I'll run through a wall for Rocco Beck. I mean, he has heck of a name. Devin Williams, I'm not sure if I'm willing to do anything for him right now. He was ready to leave me for the next NIL bag. Rocco, yes, he entered the transfer portal too, but at least he had a legitimate reason. He was following his head coach. He wasn't following the bag. So at the end of the day, that's why I'm a little bit higher on Rocco Beck. For me, at the end of the day, I think that he's a better leader based upon my observations, and that's why I have him as a top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten.
Completely fair.
There's no loyalty in the game anymore. As long as you're just loyal to a coach or anything, we love you now. Back in the day, you left the team, it didn't matter. It was done. But the new game, I guess.
It is what it is. Or you get a judge order if you don't get what you want. I mean, that's always an acceptable option.
Yeah, that's the problem. DeMond didn't know that he could just go to a lawyer and get out of his contract. He didn't know that was a thing yet. So the Trinidad Chamblises and the Brendan Swordsby hadn't paved the way for him yet. So
what is it? AT? A firm? What's
that?
What is it? The firm that you love so much?
Private equity? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, something like that. You said what's that?
Oh yeah.
How does he get involved with that?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
How do we get involved with that?
Yeah.
I'm already.
How do we get them to sponsor the show?
Look at me. I'm spilling over the edges with private equity.
We need private equity investors in the CFB Red Zone world for sure. We'll take their money.
Yeah, I'll gladly take their money to help finish building my house. But shoot,
someone hit us up in the DMs.
Yeah, yeah, sponsor the show at the very least. I mean, that's the least that you could do. But listen, top 4 here. We do have a consensus top 4. I'm gonna kick it off here at number 4. Did go with Josh Hoover here at number 4, the new quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers. I think he's a good athlete. I think that he's a prolific passer. He does turn the ball over quite a bit. So that's why I couldn't have him in the top 3. He does have a little bit of a turnover issue, as Sonny Dykes has colorfully pointed out during his time at TCU. So he does need to clean that up. I think Kirk Cigneti can, but until he does, I couldn't have him in the top 3. But really good quarterback. I really like Josh Hoover here.
100%
Yeah, I
agree.
agree. I'll just go ahead and say I've got him in the same spot. And Sonny Dykes is fuming that we've got him inside the top 4 because he thought that he was the worst thing ever. That was obviously why they lost any games last year, if you ask him. But no, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he'll do great under Kurt Cigneti. Similar to Mendoza, he can run. He is athletic, but he's going to throw a lot more. So I think he'll do great in their system.
All right, so I'll make sure to tag Sonny Dykes when I send this out on Twitter tomorrow morning. I'm curious to hear from from the rest of y'all. Are we gonna match here on a row? Are we gonna have a consensus ranking, or y'all a little bit higher on them?
Do you want me to go first, Reed?
Go ahead, buddy.
I think by season's end, my top 4 could be in any interchangeable order, and I think especially so for this guy, Josh Hoover. At 4. I think he has all the talent in the world, all the skill set in the world to become the top quarterback, maybe all Big Ten first team at Indiana. And I think he has the system now. I don't think TCU is a bad system. I want to preface that. I don't think Sonny Dykes, if you are listening, he did turn the ball over, but maybe look inwards. Is it really all his fault? He was there for 3 years. Is it really all his fault? Or is it, is a little bit of that on coaching? I think maybe a little bit. I think in the Indiana system, we saw a guy like Fernando Mendoza was very, very talented beforehand. Come in, Heisman Trophy winner. I think anytime we see that, a guy go in from a California. Similarly, we have a guy in TCU, Josh Hoover, coming into the system. Had their flaws, weren't the most sought after guys in their portal class, but very, very talented. I think Indiana is also the best at identifying talent. So I trust them blindly. Do whatever you may, Kurt Cigneti. I will follow you to the promised land. You have turned a doubter into a believer, Mr. Sig. Okay. I think you could end up 1 just because of, maybe some of the raw production numbers of the guys above him. I'm going to have him at 4, but with all due respect, I think very, very well he could end number 1 in the Big Ten this year.
I will say that's a good point, Colton, that, Kirk's known for his talent, his ability to go see talent. And after they won a national championship, who didn't want to go play for him? And they picked Josh Hoover and got him. So obviously they see something in him. He's just a heck of a talent evaluator. So I think there's something there for sure. No doubt. He's going to do great.
And a point that we haven't even brought up, let alone evaluating Mendoza, bringing him in, Heisman Trophy, the whole 9 yards. They did the same thing a year before with Curtis Rourke, won 11 games and made the playoff appearance. Yes. So this is starting to build a trend now with Cigneti at the helm, Shanahan as offensive coordinator, that they bring in transfer quarterbacks and they clean up their game and play at an elite level. Now, I made a note here that number 4 for me is the really, really good category. I have Hoover just below elite, which is the top 3 quarterbacks in this conference. And I think Hoover, to Colton's point, can at least be an elite level quarterback by season's end. I think he does clean up the interceptions just holistically because of the system he's in with Shanahan and the fact that they are building an AI generated organization over there at Indiana where they just simply play the cleanest level of football you will ever watch in your life. Solely because of the coaching that they have, Josh Hoover will be an elite quarterback by season's end. I don't think he reaches the playmaking ability of Mendoza, but he is a better arm holistically than Fernando Mendoza. And I think...
Dude, you're speaking my language right now, Reed. I love this.
I mean, I know because you and I, get off a little bit when we talk about Indiana, but that's besides the point. Josh Hoover, top 4 quarterback in the Big Ten.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, yo.
Great pull though with Rourke because he does, from a quarterback talent perspective, match up perfectly with Curtis Rourke, and we saw how well that. But I think he's more talented than Curtis Rourke.
Agree.
What is that? What is he doing?
I'm trying to shake your hand.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, really, Curtis Rourke. How about that being like pulled on the show here? That's a epitome of that dude rocked. Especially his
That,
time at Ohio too.
that's
Shout
like
out
a
to
ULM mention.
yeah.
Not as good. Not as good. ULM mentions all the way.
Still mentioned though.
Still mentioned,
Always.
which technically we got you on mention right now. It's brought up to me.
All right, at number 3, I got Jaden Mayava. I think, in all seriousness, I do think Hoover should, this is who the Hoovers of the world should aspire to be like. I think from a just arm talent perspective, this is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. The biggest question mark, and the reason you could honestly put him below Hoover and I wouldn't be upset, is just because of the talent around him. They lose a ton of their star wide receivers. They still have a great offensive line and a great running back room, but they do lose, of course, Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. They're, that's not easy to replace. I don't doubt that Southern Cal can do it. It's just, it's hard for me to trust the raw production numbers leaving and then replacing them with, who knows? I do think this is one of the more polished passers in the country. Definitely, obviously, in the Big Ten because I have him at 3. But if Hoover cleans up his game just a little bit, because I still believe he had like 10 interceptions, 11,
10.
but on top of that, like 30 touchdowns. So this is the model quarterback for a pro style Big Ten offense, in my opinion. It's the prototype right here.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I've got him at 3 as well. I think he's a great quarterback, 3,700 yards last year. Obviously, the guy can sling it. He's really good. I think And what's to say, we talk about Dan Mullen being a quarterback guru. So is Lincoln Riley. I mean, how many guys has he sent to the pros? Not just at USC, but at Oklahoma as well. I mean, everywhere he's gone, he's done a really good job at developing quarterbacks and getting them to the next level. And you've already got an incredibly talented guy in Jaden Mayava. So I'm expecting Lincoln Riley to get more out of him just because he's done that so far with every other quarterback he's got. And this guy's already incredibly talented. So I don't expect him to be anything less than elite next year, just like he was this past season. It is funny though. Reed talked about Indiana being the AI squad or the way they run it, but this is the real AI team here because they hired that director of artificial intelligence to come run that program. So I'm interested to see how that's going to affect them next season. I don't know. I don't know if it'll do anything, but either way, I'm sure we're going to be hearing about it a lot. So
yeah, Lincoln Riley got the director of AI. Kurt Cignetti's just going to use Grok, dude. He's going to get the same thing. He's going to get the same. Why would you hire a guy for AI?
It's insane.
That's the whole point.
Maybe Cignetti is the AI. Maybe Cignetti is the AI.
You got to, yeah.
I feel like it's just a fancy word for analytics, and just trying to add like an extra position, just because. But I just do like anything to do to get out of the 8-4 like doldrums. Like you do, you Lincoln.
You're right. Not here on Buzzer though. No AI on Buzzer.
No AI slump here. No data centers.
Real quick, I do have Mayava also at 3. Not going to repeat all the points that Colton and AT have said, but definitely ditto to all the points.
Yeah, and you're going to find this incredibly interesting, but I am matching with you guys as well. I have Jaden Mayava at number 3. I think he's a really good quarterback. I just think the other two quarterbacks are first-round caliber quarterbacks when it comes times for their name to be called for the NFL draft. So, I mean, like Jaden Mayava is really good, but I mean, he's not all the way elite.
This could go either way. This could go either way. I'm excited. We could all agree, or half and half here.
Or I think three of us could agree and one couldn't. What are all?
That is true.
What are the different
I hope it's me. I hope I'm the one that disagrees.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll go ahead and reveal our number 1 quarterback. So I'll be the first one to go on the ledge and start things off. Number 1 quarterback, Big Ten, coming out of the East Coast. Give me Julian Sayin as my number 1 quarterback in the Big Ten. Listen, I view these two on a very similar level. I just think Sayin plays a little bit better in the big games than Dante Moore did last year. For me, Dante Moore, seeing him play in that Indiana game and how they got absolutely bamboozled, they got flabbergasted, Dante Moore looked like he needed a map last year in that Indiana game. That sticks with me a little bit. I understand that he was going to be a top 5 NFL draft pick, and I think he made the right decision by him going ahead and staying in school because he was going to have his NFL career ruined by the New York Jets. But I think Zayn plays better in the big games right now, and I know that it's not perfect from that perspective. I also think Zayn is a elite passer from an accuracy perspective. He had over 70% completion percentage. I know that he had really good talent on the outside. I mean, Julian Smith's going to be wide receiver 1. Cardinal Tate was a first-round draft pick. I get that. But even with NFL talent, we've seen quarterbacks flounder in spite of having that on the outside. So, Julian Zayn knows where to put the ball in play. And so that's why I have him as the number 1 quarterback. I think he's uber accurate, and I think he plays a little bit better in the big games than Dante Moore.
Who's next?
I mean, I'll go ahead. I disagree. I've got Julian Zayn at number 2. I think Dante Moore's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. What I'll say about Zayn, and this is something I encourage everybody to go do because I've done it. Go back and just watch his highlights from last season. Great quarterback, fantastic, 70% completion rate. But there's a lot less throws over 15 yards than you would think. He does a lot of getting the ball to really, really good playmakers. Does he do good at that? Absolutely. Does he do a lot of screen passes? Absolutely. Is there a lot of yards after the catch? There is. So I think he's a really good elite quarterback. I think he does a really good job at winning football games. But I think when you're talking about a playmaker, I think Dante Moore's got him beat every single day of the week. I think Dante Moore will get things done in situations where Julian Zayn won't. I think if you take Dante Moore and a worse team and you take Julian Zayn and a worse team, Dante Moore is going to be your starting quarterback every day of the week. Whereas I do think Julian Zayn does a really good job maintaining a elite team. I think he's the perfect quarterback for Ohio State. But I think if you had him outside of that really, really solid offensive line, solid wide receiver core, I think if you took him away from that, there'd be a lot more questions there. So still number 2 in the Big Ten. I'm not hating on Julian Zayn by any means. I'm just saying that I think Dante Moore is a better playmaker and a better athlete. And I think I think he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. So.
I was assuming you wanted to go last.
I mean, I'm okay with going now if you'd rather read.
No, I got you. I'll give you the 4. I'll give you the 4 last. I also have Dante Moore, number 1. I think he's the most NFL ready quarterback in the Big Ten right now. I think he meets or exceeds the levels that he played at last year. I think he has potentially the best wide receiver group in the country coming in the next season. And to put the cherry on top, I think Dante Moore takes a trip to New York at the end of the season next year. So Dante Moore, number 1 quarterback in the Big Ten. Not denying Julian Zayn everything you guys said, the accuracy. He was an elite level quarterback last year, accuracy-wise. But they span play action in that offense. It's going to happen again this year with Arthur Smith at the helm. Mm-hmm. I'm not denying that he has the number 1 receiver in the country, best player in college football in the country beside him. But you have to take that into account that who he's throwing the ball to can make up for, the level of play that he was at. So that goes in my thought process. Dante Moore, best quarterback in the Big Ten.
I'll go ahead and say, I feel like it's safe to say that these guys, they're 1A and 1B, in all honesty. I mean, I don't know how wide the gap is, but I think there is probably a gap. Will there be by season's end? Who knows? I think Josh Hoover honestly could get to that level, but unfortunately for you, Jake, I am going to have to agree with the other 2. I do have Dante Moore as my number 1 quarterback. I think he's underrated athletically. Like Reed said, I think he's probably the most NFL-ready quarterback in football. I think he was last year. I think he probably should have been the number 1 quarterback taken off the board last year. I think he heard, Oregon's going to pay me a lot of money to come back. Not as much money as if I was the number 1 pick, but we all know we all know kind of that, Fernando Mendoza was going to be that, as soon as the NFL season ended. Whether you agree or disagree, I personally disagree. I think Dante Moore, as a prototype of a quarterback, is one of the best that you can take in all of football. Does he have some decision-making issues? Yes. Does he sometimes make bad reads towards the middle of the field? Yes. I think in this system at Oregon, and I know they lost both coordinators. I know it's neither here nor there. I mean, it is kind of here because replacing your coordinators is hard, but in-house, these are guys that have been in the system as well. They know what's going on. I have no doubt that Dante Moore, at least from a production standpoint, will be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. The biggest thing, in my opinion, that will separate these two is if Julian Sand can consistently hit his targets in the middle of the field more often than Dante Moore. I think whichever quarterback, breaks away in that aspect, because I think one or both of them could this year, it will definitively have one of them as the number one quarterback. Julian Sand's eligible this year, right? Yeah. This is his third year. So
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if these were number one and number two in the NFL draft, because both of these guys are fantastic.
Yeah, and there's going to be some teams in the NFL that are going to need a quarterback pretty badly. I think this time, like next year, Cardinals. But it's I see that I'm standing loaded, and that's okay because I'm going to look at this graphic when Ohio State beats Oregon during the regular season, and we're gonna go back to this. It's going to be all right.
Is that all that matters?
Do we not play to win the game? Is that not the whole point?
Does anyone else smell a homer?
Is there not 22 people on the field? Is this just a quarterback game?
I smell a homer pick by Jake here, honestly. But.
Homers, first of all, I'm a Cincinnati guy, not an Ohio State guy. There's a firm difference.
What
here.
state is Cincinnati in?
We are our own state, actually. We are the state of Cincinnati. Cincinnati does not acknowledge the
They're in Kentucky. They're in Kentucky.
What is this guy talking about? What is he talking about?
But hey, listen, it's been an incredible night. I'm glad that we were able to have the first ever quad box. I'm glad that we can talk ball that doesn't pertain to Brandon Sorsby. Thank goodness that we could have one episode where we hardly have the Brandon Sorsby talk. And listen, before we sign off here tonight, make sure you go check out some of these other guys on here. Make sure you check out Reed stuff, like in Love for the Game. Make sure you go check out Colton stuff, and that's his tag on Twitter and YouTube, O&O Sports. Make sure you check out AT stuff. He may not have a workable camera, he may be a little bit camera shy, but that's okay because we still love him. He's our lovable buddy here. AT over at Tampa 2 College Football, and then me personally, we're coming up on 2,000 followers on Twitter. Something that I would love to get before we have a Thursday live show is, can we hit 2,000 followers before we get to that Thursday live show? I would genuinely appreciate it if we can make that happen. If we're watching on Twitter, of course. YouTube, still the same thing. If you have a Twitter account, you're watching on YouTube, go do that over here. But hey, listen, in the meantime, hopefully you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody. And hopefully you guys are all out there having a good night.